Excuse me. That chocolate bar you're eating, did you know kids as young as 10 are working to produce the cocoa that goes into it? How does it make you feel? Do you know that children as young as 10 are being used to produce the cocoa that goes into that chocolate? Does that disturb you? That old necklace you're wearing, did you know that people are being poisoned and beaten in order for you to wear that chain? Do you like rice?
Yes.
How would you feel about the fact that cheap American rice is being used to put farmers in the developing world out of business? Rice, don't forget it. Excuse me. Be honest. Rarely, when you pick something up from the supermarket shelf, do you consider the poor beggar in Africa who's had to produce it. Oh no, I hear you say. Poor people being exploited in Africa. What can I do about it? Well, I believe consumers can influence the powers that be. So I've come to Africa on the trail of our 3 high street products: rice, chocolate and gold. I'm going to meet the people who produce them and see for myself the lives they lead. Can I, as a Westerner, do the work that they do? I'm knackered after 10 minutes. And I'm also going to take on some powerful multinational companies. Cowardice. No, that's cowardice. You can pay above it if you want to, you can. My name's Robert Beckford. I'm an academic and theologian. I'm in the capital of Ghana, thousands of miles from my home in Birmingham. Over 200 years ago, the British seized my ancestors from here and shipped them to Jamaica as slaves. This year, Ghana is celebrating the 50th anniversary of its independence from British rule. Is Ghana free? Is Ghana free? I wonder, or has the West replaced slavery with economic chains? For several decades, Western companies and organisations like the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the World Bank have effectively run the economies of many African countries. I want to know, why is it after 50 years, Ghana, despite being a prosperous country, being rich in minerals, having a stable democracy, is still one of the poorest countries on this planet? I'm going to find out why. I start my journey by flying from Accra to the capital of the agricultural north, Tamale. Remember my packet of supermarket rice? Well, this is a so-called rice-growing area, and I've come here to find out how Western policies have impacted on local people. I'm going to work with some rice farmers and try to survive on their income. My target is to earn the average national daily income in Ghana, about 60p a day. My guide and translator is Victoria Adongo, herself from a farming background.
You think he's going to make it, Victoria?
Oh, yes. I know he can make it.
Good to see you got a bit of faith in me. Good. We're heading for a Muslim village called Birima, a short drive from Tamale. This area was at the heart of Ghana's rice basket. In the early 1970s, the country was nearly 50% self-sufficient in rice production. But looking at the village now, I find it hard to believe. I think this is it.
Yeah, this is it. This is Birima.
Birima?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to be the guest of Mohammed Enusa and his brother Hussein. Hello. I'd like... Let's find the accommodation where I'll be staying. Oh, just here is the bathhouse. Where does the water come from? From the river. So you have to go to the river first to get the water. So do you go and fetch water, or does somebody else go and fetch it?
The women.
We'll go and get the water. Well, I'm going to try and go to the river, because I think that it's only fair that I get my own water. Okay? What about the lavatory? Toilet
is just outside. Bush. We don't have
bush.
Toilet.
Yes.
You go to the bush.
So you just follow the path.
Yes. You can shoot up the trees.
In the
just trees.
Okay, okay. All right, that's helpful. That's helpful to know. It's a big bathroom. I thought I'd go and collect some water in order to be a little bit more efficient tomorrow, rather than having to go and get some first thing in the morning. And how many miles is it to get the water?
Yes, about 1 mile.
So 2 miles in total. This is the nearest place where the villagers can draw water, and even then they're taking a huge risk. The pond is infested with guinea worm. If the larvae hatch in your stomach, you're in for years of agony as the worms work their way through your body and out through the soles of your feet. Now, this water doesn't look very clean to me.
Maybe.
It's clean?
Yes,
it's clean.
When they carry it to home, they filter it.
Oh, right. Thank you. It's really heavy. Really heavy. Right, what I'm going to try and do is put it on my head. I feel kind of embarrassed because, as you can see, there are kids a fraction of my age who have outstripped me already. So that girl in front of me is probably carrying more than me. She's got a metal bucket and it's full to the brim. You can see this is keeping the locals very much entertained. God, it's rough on the neck. But I can see the village now. Is that the village ahead? My neck is killing me. But I can't really wimp out, or else these guys will think that I won't be worth my labour tomorrow. Okay. I seem to have made an impression by fetching my own water, but I'm here to earn my living. So I wonder how much I could make carrying water for other people.
When you go to the river, we may pay you for a bucket of water for 1,000.
1,000. Okay, so 1,000 cedis. That's just 5p. That's 2,000. If I go 3 times, 3,000. Not 5,000 for 3. 3,000. You're a hard man to bargain with. Just looking around at the people, I could tell that they were really hard-working and super fit. But something isn't right. All the machinery is busted, and you can see that there's a degree of frustration behind all the laughs and the smiles that the people have. Why is it, when the people are so hard-working, are they so underproducing? What kind of forces are preventing them from truly flourishing? That looks so feminine. It's actually quite frightening, isn't it? All I've done today is carry water for a mile, and I'm totally shattered. Even the children laughed at me. Tomorrow, I've got to work in the fields. I'll be knackered after 5 minutes. That's my biggest worry. God knows if I can do this. Today's my first day as a rice farmer in northern Ghana. I'm a long way from home and a long way from the smart offices of Western companies and organisations. I'm here to find out if their policies are behind what I'm about to experience. But first, I need a wash and brush up. Got to admit though, it is a bit smelly around here. This little shower place here. But then again, I've been into many a musky shower in my day.
Don't they use it as a urinal as well?
Do they?
I think so.
Oh right, okay, that would probably explain the smell. It is a bit fresh, as they say. Next, I haggle over my wages. We agree on 20,000 cedis. That's £1 a day, nearly double the average national daily income in Ghana. I'll be knackered after 5 minutes. That's my biggest worry, is that these guys are really skilled at doing this stuff. They know how to do it. This isn't just a case of being out here in the heat, it's also the fact that I just haven't done a great deal of manual labour, which says a lot, doesn't it, really? My first job is to clear some scrubland to make way for a new rice field. The ground is rock hard and the axes have thick metal handles to absorb the shock. They weigh a ton.
How was that?
There's a lot to do, isn't there? You got to clear all of this. Yeah. I'm knackered. I'm knackered after 10 minutes.
As we work, the farmers tell me about the destruction of rice farming. Up until the 1980s, the Ghanaian government handed out grants for fertiliser and machinery. Then the IMF and World Bank moved in and put a stop to state subsidies. The new mantra was the free market and privatisation. The farmers were back to square one.
Ah, man. Look at me, it's terrible, isn't it? The men are working now, I'm here with the kids. Thank God it's Friday because they only work a fraction of the day because I have to go to the mosque for prayers. If it wasn't for that, I'd be completely fried out here. So my first day of work has been cut short. I think that's divine intervention.
In the evening, I'm still recovering, but I need my wages. I haven't managed anything like a full day's work, and I've only carried 1 bucket of water.
They will pay you 5,000 cedis.
5,000
For
cedis?
the work you did today.
5,000 cedis. 25 pence for my hour's work today. So that's 25p an hour I'm making at the moment. Okay, right. It's going to be hard for me to juggle my food, water. Oh, that's a point. What about the water? I bought some water. I bought some water. I bought some water. Hey, come on. You're trying to do me out of my earnings. Come on. You're do me out of my money, man.
How do you feel about the way that they've calculated your worth?
I think they've been completely fair. I think they've been fair. I can only last for an hour out there in the heat. I tried to Skype and pretend I was working, but they saw through it. I'd contemplated setting up a little union to try and drive up the wages, but nobody was on my side for that one. But it's fair. It's fair. I can't see how in this modern day and age we would subject people to this kind of livelihood just to make our part of the world richer. It just doesn't make any sense. You know, it is impoverishment. We're screwing them and the other people are screwing them. It's not something they've brought on themselves or willed or concocted or an act of God or some kind of misfortune. It's a calculated political process. It was a pretty rough old night, just sleeping on the floor, but they actually feel that for anybody to be living on their level of subsistence is terrible. It just makes it really difficult to actually try to live on subsistence because they don't want you to.
The people in Birima have been too kind to me. They're just managing to produce enough to feed themselves and don't really have any spare cash for my wages. So I head for nearby Batanga, where the government and the World Bank set up an irrigation project. I've heard that thanks to the dam, the farmers here are growing enough rice to sell commercially, so perhaps a Brummie labourer can get a decent wage.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Robert Beckford.
Robert.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I meet up with 2 local rice farmers, Nash and Lancer.
What's a day's pay out here for a good labourer?
10,000 cedis a day.
10,000 cedis a day?
Yes.
That's less than what I was making at the on the farm.
In our environment here, this is the quantity, this is the amount we pay. Yes.
I guess the subsistence farmers have been really generous to me. I guess this is much more like the realistic rate that people get paid, 10,000 cedis a day.
That's about 50p. Nash and Lance are able to sell a bit of rice, but they're hardly rolling in cash. As we work, they tell me something which leaves me gobsmacked. In the 1980s, as part of their strategy to open up the Ghanaian market, the American government supplied rice as food aid. It was like sending snow to Eskimos. Rice as food aid?
Food aid. In the secondary schools, they were given foreign rice.
So hold on a minute. They're giving you aid, but they're giving you rice when you're already farming rice.
65% of the population in Ghana are into farming.
So hold on, but that doesn't make sense.
Contradiction.
Along with the sweetener of food aid, the IMF, the World Bank and the Americans told the Ghanaian government to cut subsidies to farmers and open up its markets to foreign imports. The food aid tailed off. Cheap foreign rice flooded in and Ghana's rice production stagnated.
Doesn't that make you angry? Because this to me seems nothing more than a kind of economic imperialism.
I used to tell even government officials and even outsiders that if Osama bin Laden comes here and he wants people, he will get them more. And you shouldn't be shocked to see even small children wearing his t-shirts. Because we feel we have been cheated, pushed to the wall. We are dying. And somebody is hitting the West. So we feel he's doing something in our favor.
Sympathy for Osama bin Laden.
That's chilling. It may seem like an extreme opinion, but what Nash is saying is that Western economic policies are driving Africans to the wall. Boss, can I have my wages, please?
Yeah. Today you are working half day. So I'm paying you half.
Half?
Half of the
That's
bowl.
fine. That's fine. I reckon I can make money by now selling the rice at the market.
It seems cruel to me that the IMF and the World Bank told Ghana to axe subsidies to its rice farmers, whilst the American government pays as much as 72% of their own farmers' production costs.
Scales of justice. Justice premium white rice, double polished, and it's a product of the United States.
We don't sell the local rice.
You don't sell the local rice?
Yes.
Personally, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the American rice?
The American one is somehow delicious.
Delicious?
Yes.
Delicious? It tastes nicer than the local rice?
Yes.
Hardly surprising American rice tastes delicious when you consider how many millions of dollars of subsidies the government throws at it. Finally, tucked away in a corner, I tracked down some local producers trying to sell gritty homegrown rice.
Ask her, how much would she give me for a bag of rice?
One bowl, 10,000 cedis.
One bowl, 10,000 cedis. How many bowls does she think this will be?
This is half a bowl.
Okay, 5,000 cedis. Tell her I'm going to go and burn all the American rice today.
No, you are seeing to think of my Zach in your dad.
Joking apart, I think it's a scandal. The IMF claim that poverty has been reduced in Ghana and that the economy is growing at 6% per year. But from what I've seen here, it seems to me that IMF and World Bank policies have undermined Ghanaian rice production and reduced hundreds of villages to abject poverty. Back in Birima, and much to the amusement of the men, I insist on trying to earn my keep by collecting firewood with the women, just about all I'm up to. As I gather my 20p's worth of wood, it dawns on me that teenage girls are almost completely missing from the village. I decide to get some parents together to try to find out why.
Who within your family has left the village?
Zelia.
A girl, his daughter called Zelia.
How old is she?
12 years.
She's 12 years old?
Yes.
Why did you let her go? Surely you'd want your daughter here with you.
She just took off and went to Kumasi in search of money.
That's a big responsibility on a 12-year-old girl.
Oh, Atuzopa, his sister.
His sister. And how old is she?
15 years.
She's 15 years old?
Yes.
The near collapse of rice farming and desperate poverty have driven the girls to look for work in Kumasi, Ghana's second city. As a father of 2 small children, I find this really upsetting.
I mean, it's really, really sad. Really, 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 really sad. I mean, I can't imagine a 12-year-old having to go away from their family and trying to eke out a living. You know, that's just beyond me. And to think that they don't even know, you know, they don't really know if they're alive or well, to be quite honest, do they? I'm going to go and look for them. I'm going to go and look for all of them, and I'll send them your greetings.
I head off to find 4 girls from one small village in a city of over 1 million people. It seems like an impossible task. All I know is that the girls have headed south to Kumasi, a major trade route at the heart of Ghana, to work as Kayayi girls, carriers of goods. There's hardly a family in the north which hasn't lost a daughter to this mass migration. I hitch a ride on one of the hundreds of minibuses that leave Tamale for Kumasi every day, each one of them crammed with girls, hungry, homeless and desperate for work.
How old are you?
She's 15.
15. 15 years old. How old are you?
She's 12 years.
12 years old.
11.
11 years old. And about you?
They haven't told them.
Do your parents? They haven't told the parents?
None of them has told them. The suffering here is more than their fear. What they fear doesn't really matter if you compare that to the poverty that they feel at home.
I feel sick. I feel really, really sick.
The Birima girls were somewhere out there in a big, frightening city. Would they still be alive? And how on earth would I find them?
Down here.
It's night time when I arrive in Kumasi in search of the girls from Birima village, who've travelled here to escape the hopeless poverty at home.
I'm looking for some girls from Birima.
I've been told that all the girls from near Tamale tend to live together in the same slum.
I'm looking for girls from Birima.
No, it is not them.
There's a lot of drink and drugs around here and I'm nervous. I've heard that some Kayayi girls get raped and are physically abused.
It smells awful. It smells absolutely awful. You can smell the open sewers, and it's just packed full of young people living and sleeping, you know, in nothing more than bits of wood. Anyway, I'm going to keep looking. Just keep looking.
How did you get them pictures?
These pictures are from their parents.
They're my parents.
They're from their parents. But listen, I've got to go this way. I've got to find them.
I know you'll find this hard to believe, but just as I'm about to give up, I can't believe my luck. I find the girls in a wood yard.
Birima! From Birima. That's you? No, that's this lady here. That's you. That's you. Tell them that their families say hello.
Some men who appear to be the girls' minders start to get a bit edgy, so we move the girls off to see where they're living.
Is anybody in there?
Yes, there are others. They don't sleep alone. They sleep with other girls from other villages. And you can hear at the background. Yeah. They were warning them not to open the door.
Okay. How do you feel about being here?
No, they don't feel good about it.
The worst thing, the absolute worst, degrading, nasty thing about all of this is it's not adults, it's not people who are trained and skilled and who can look after themselves. It's teenage girls. IMF, World Bank policies leading to teenage girls leaving home to have to hustle money. These policies aren't policies, it's international gangsterism.
It's shameful. The story of my packet of supermarket rice ends here in the awful slums of Kumasi. Next time you buy subsidized American rice, think what it's done to Ghana. But if you thought the tale of rice was disturbing, wait till you hear about chocolate. On the trail of our favorite treat, I head south to the cocoa fields of Sefi Wiaso. Cocoa is one of Ghana's most important exports and a vital ingredient of chocolate. I've heard stories of hard-up parents in the north sending their children south to work. I've even been told that children are rented out in exchange for a sewing machine or a bicycle.
Hello. Let me see. Let me see.
I can't imagine what it's like to be a child labourer. But to find out, I get myself a job on a cocoa farm.
As you can see, I'm working with a farmer here, his niece, who's about 15-year-old, and he's got a nephew here who is around about 9 or 10. So it's a very different setup to working on the rice farm. There are a few more kids involved, and one young boy in particular that I'm hoping to get to know a little bit better as the day progresses. Could you ask her how much chocolate does she eat?
Alara, what is chocolate? She doesn't even know chocolate. They don't even know what it is.
Absolutely amazing. They've never ever tasted chocolate.
I've heard that Alara and Baba spend most of the day working for their uncle on his farm. I want to know why, but I have to be careful. Child labour is illegal in Ghana, and people are reluctant to talk about it.
As you can see, there's a lot of space to clear here. Taking these weeds out of the ground.
Finding out the true figure for the number of child labourers is incredibly difficult. But Numan Afoso is a local expert and reckons he has a handle on the problem.
What percentage of children are working underage?
That would be hard for me to say, but it's quite a number. Quite substantial, yeah.
Quite substantial number.
Yeah.
Because the government claim that at least 92% of them are in school.
That is debatable.
That's debatable.
Yeah.
How many would you estimate are really in school?
Be about 80%.
Right. So there might be at least 20% of them out there doing this kind of thing.
Even if it is one child, it is one child too many.
So does this mean that some of the chocolate I buy on the high street is made from cocoa picked by children? Possibly. Unless you buy fair trade cocoa, which is earmarked as such, almost all the cocoa produced in Ghana is taken to government-run depots where it gets mixed up. So it's impossible for non-fair trade chocolate manufacturers to guarantee the cocoa they buy here is child labour free.
I just wanted to know how much she got paid.
She doesn't get paid.
She doesn't get paid? Okay, so she's just working on her uncle's farm for her food and lodgings.
Lara tells me that her father couldn't afford to feed her and Baba, so he sent them to their uncle. She works 6 hours a day and has never been to school.
This guy's pretty good at it. He's been working with me today. Come, Baba. Come, Baba's been working with me today. He's been showing me the ropes, showing me how to cut with a machete. How did that happen?
I see there. No, he was reading and he was cut by the cutlass.
Oh. Ask him, does he enjoy working every day?
I say, I am out. Huh? Doesn't want to answer.
Ask him, like his sister, did he ever go to school? Did he go to school?
Baby, no.
He's never been to school. He's never been to school. Would you like to go to school? Would you like to go to school?
Yes, he would like to go to school.
He would like to go to school. Maybe the advert for some of these big chocolate manufacturers should go along the lines of the best chocolate in the world, sexual, seductive, beautiful, and produced by illiterate 10-year-old boys like Baba. If I could, I'd pay for him to go to school, you know. We should help him out. He wants to go to school.
I asked Baba's uncle whether he would let me pay him to send the boy to school.
It is out of poverty, because he was poor, that he made them to work on the farm. It wasn't his choice.
Yeah.
But why would he refuse such help?
Tell Baba to put down his cutlass.
Baba, was it for sick and then last?
And what about his sister? What can we do to help his sister?
He wants her to learn to sew, so he was planning to buy a sewing machine.
Ask her, does she want to learn to sew?
She wants to learn how to sew.
I tried to ask the big chocolate manufacturers, Cadbury and Nestlé, about their policy on child labour, and they said that their trade organisation would answer on their behalf. The trade organisation said that the big chocolate companies do not want children to be harmed in the growing or harvesting of cocoa, and they point out that they fund projects that help farmers become more productive and are supporting a certification scheme run by the Ghanaian government to register cocoa farms and monitor employment practices. But I don't believe this goes far enough. The certification scheme is 3 years behind the original schedule, and even when it's in place, it will only cover 50% of the cocoa growing regions. Not good enough, I'm afraid. The real solution to the tragedy of child labour may lie elsewhere. I've come to a farm which is part of the Kwapo Cocoa Fair Trade Cooperative. In return for slightly higher profits, farmers promise not to use child labour, and they're monitored to see that they don't. By the sums that I've done, and remember my maths isn't particularly good, they're making above average when it comes to Ghana. So these people are doing quite well. But the biggest difference here compared to the other cocoa farms are the kids. The kids are in school, they're speaking English. I just want to ask the children quickly, do you go to school?
Yes.
Do you go to school?
Yes, sir.
Do you go to school?
Yes.
Do you go to school?
Yes.
So if you want to be as sure as you can that your chocolate's not been made by child labour, then buy fair trade chocolate. Kwapo Cocoa's farmers are guaranteed a price for their cocoa plus $150 extra per tonne. This extra money goes into a fund which benefits them and their villages. But even then, there's a catch for the Ghanaians. At the port, what percentage of your beans actually sell at the fair trade price?
We have about 3%.
3%?
Yes.
Hold on a minute, let me get that clear. You're saying of all the beans you get in from the collective, fair traded, only 3% of them are actually fair trade price?
Yes.
Just 3%?
Yeah, just 3%.
I'm really shocked. Nearly all the cocoa produced by this fair trade cooperative isn't bought at the fair trade price and ends up mixed in with cocoa which may have been picked by children. Isn't it unfair that you go to all the effort to ensure that there's not child labour, that kids go to school, that farmers get a decent return for their crops? After all of that, your cocoa gets mixed up with the people who've made no effort. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is not fair. It is not fair, but we cannot help the situation. We are not happy with it, and our prayer is that maybe one day fair trade will be able to take all our cocoa that we are producing here, for the betterment of the farmers.
This makes me really angry. I can't see why the big chocolate manufacturers can't buy more fair trade cocoa. It's in Ghana and it's available. Now, we in Britain consume more chocolate than anybody else in Europe, and I'm sure that most of us wouldn't mind spending a few extra pennies if we knew that the cocoa wasn't being farmed by children. On the trail of the last of the high street products, I head further south to Obuasi, where they mine gold. We buy around £2 billion of the stuff every year in the form of jewellery. But next time you put on your bling, give a thought to what's happened to the place where it's produced. Gold is one of Ghana's most lucrative exports. Here in Obuasi, the biggest player is part British-owned Anglo Gold Ashanti, AGA. The result of a merger in 2004 between a Ghanaian and a South African-based company. Last year, AGA recorded gross profits of around £500 million from its global operations. But it doesn't look as if the people here are sharing in the bonanza. I travelled to Dochiwa village. In the 1980s, the Ghanaian government, supported by the IMF and World Bank, encouraged foreign investment. Hundreds of acres were bought up as potential gold mines. Local people were persuaded to sell their land in return for compensation they now claim was too little. And they say the impact on the environment has been devastating. What did it look like before?
This whole area was full of cocoa.
cocoa,
oranges,
yams, cassava.
But ever since the takeover, all these things are no more.
Was this land hilly before, or was it flat?
Yeah, it was flat.
Flat? It used to be all flat. So this hill wasn't there before? Okay. This hill was built to hold back tons of waste products from mining. The locals claim their water supply has been polluted.
This was our main source of drinking water.
This used to be your drinking water. What do you use it for now?
Not even for bathing.
Not even for bathing?
Yeah.
But there's a man bathing in it over there.
No, I said...
A University of Ghana survey found high levels of toxic substances in streams, fruit and boreholes in Obuasi. In one village, arsenic levels in water were recorded as 1,800 times higher than the World Health Organization maximum values. Things are no better in the nearby village of Bin Serif. Here, people have to share their life with a pit full of toxic waste less than 100 meters away from their houses.
Tell me what's happening here.
As I walk through the village, I stumble across grown men trying to scrape a living, literally. These people were farmers. Now they're illegal miners or galamsey, reduced to trespassing on AGA land, stealing toxic waste from the pit and washing it out in the hope of finding slithers of gold.
Ask him, why did he start doing it? Tell me his story. Tell me why he has to do this.
In fact, I was a student.
This guy was actually a student,
yes, he was.
But he's had to resort to this because the revenue from his farm has gone.
Sometimes it leads to some of our colleagues dying, but the question again is we have to survive. So keep on doing.
I'm amazed, and it gets worse. Local people claim AGA are too aggressive in protecting their property. Some even say they've been beaten up by the police and military.
10, 20 of our colleagues, take them to the community center.
Yeah.
They will gather the community around and they will beat us.
To deter people from
going there,
from doing it.
Yeah.
And who's that? The police or AGA security or the armed forces? Who?
The military.
These marks here are all from the beating that they received. These lacerations.
Yes.
So all of these from the beating.
As a result of the beating.
You know what? When I heard the people's stories being told this morning, I thought to myself, they're being treated like niggers. That's the only way you can describe how these African people have been treated. You cannot say to me that these people are considered to be human beings with feelings, with emotions, with values, with something worth living for, because the way they've been treated here, I haven't got words for it. The only word that you can use is that they've been made to be and live like niggers, people who are less than human beings.
In response to complaints from local people, AGA say that they are helping the community. They've embarked on a $3 million program to cut malaria by spraying buildings with insecticide. But the locals claim the stagnant ponds provide a breeding ground for mosquitoes. The spraying manager disagrees.
Well, the mosquitoes breed in clean waters in their surroundings. Yeah. They do not go to them. When you go to the pit like this, it's not true.
Well, I think
he's telling lies. Yeah. The pit, every water camera is full of chemicals.
Yeah.
And the mosquito is so wise that it will not go and breed in that. It will not even survive.
And before the mine pit was there,
I've been working about
was
this.
There any malaria? Was there any malaria before that?
Oh, no. They're really committed to their well-being.
They're committed to their well-being?
Yeah.
Well, forgive me, I might be a bit simple, but this looks like a really rubbish village. Yeah. This doesn't look like a company is taking care of these people. There's no work. They've got very little food. How can you really, as a Ghanaian, say that the company is concerned about these people?
We have to cut it short.
I know you can't answer that. I know you can't answer that.
No,
I know you can't answer those questions.
No, I can answer, but if I answer, there are certain things I cannot.
I understand. Anglo Gold Ashanti make millions of pounds every year.
You must go and continue.
And there's nothing to show for it. But you can't answer that question.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I'm not here to argue with you.
No, that's cowardice. Well, I tell you what, he's on the phone now, and it's likely that he's going to be calling his boss, and we may have to move on here to get some
to see what is going on.
Yeah. Anglo-Gold Ashanti dominates the economy in this area. Local people are frightened, angry and fed up. But I'm determined to put their complaints to one of the company's bosses. I'm still waiting for you to take a sip to prove to me that it's pure.
Be careful you don't drink it.
Way to the local HQ of one of Ghana's most powerful gold mining companies, Anglo-Gold Ashanti, to confront the bosses. Local people say they are intimidated by the police and military who protect the mines, and they claim mining has polluted their water supplies.
Let me show you something that I picked up. This is some water from one of the boreholes.
Yeah.
What should the people who have to drink this water, because there's no other water, it's contaminated, all I want to know is, what should I go back and tell them?
Tell them that we are aware of the problem.
And what should they do?
We are trying to find a holistic approach.
You're trying to find a holistic solution. I'm still waiting for you to take a sip to prove to me that it's pure.
Be careful you don't drink it.
In the meantime, if you're in one of these communities, the water you drink makes you feel ill.
The issue is that the oboase or body is associated with sulfur. This was given to us by God. Do you know that?
So you're saying that the water contamination so the arsenic is natural?
Immediately you disturb the rock formation, you unleash all these things into the environment.
Yeah.
But it's not only mining which unleashes these things.
Yeah.
Farming is one, illegal mining is one.
Yeah.
Even the government constructing roads.
The young men I spoke to in one village yesterday showed me the scars that they had from a beating which took place last month, which was witnessed by hundreds of people because they were taken from village to village and beaten in front of people. They claim that, as well as your own security, the army is there, and the army's been there for some time.
I'm not aware of any beatings of illegal miners by our security. If our security arrest an illegal miner or a trespasser or a pure armed robber, they hand them over to the national police. What happens there, to me, is not my concern. All that I want to see is that the guy is sent to court and maybe put at the place where he belongs.
In prison?
Yeah.
I leave feeling frustrated, but something had sunk in. The next day, Mr. Owasu agrees to meet some local people to discuss pollution, demands for compensation, and whether AGA is going to fill in the toxic pit at Bin Sarai. Over an hour and a half, years of anger and frustration come flooding out.
Can the company develop a program of training for the young men who are over 16 and looking for work?
It's something that they have already planned, but this is an opportunity they are using to tell them.
Okay. We don't know what jobs it is, and we don't know how long it'll take. Lots of people have spoken to me about the pollution.
That is one thing. Immediately, we are going to have a look at.
They are going to address the water situation.
Rehabilitation of
the pit.
The pit will have to happen
immediately.
Now.
What are they going to do about the problem of compensation?
If the government says you have to pay such an amount for this number of this thing, AGA cannot pay beyond that.
You can pay above it if you want to. You can pay. They can pay above it. Well, that's quite a meeting. I thought that the British were experts in fudging things and procrastinating, but I'm disappointed that there wasn't some kind of olive branch from the company to give the people real hope.
AGA say they are currently testing the water to try to get to the bottom of the contamination problem. But they still haven't filled in the pit at Bin Sarai, and there's little progress on the compensation disputes. Over the last month, I've followed the story of 3 high street products, and whether it's gold, rice or cocoa, we as consumers should be worried, very worried. Ghana has so many resources, yet the people are so poor. Is there anything we can do for this amazing country? As I ponder this huge question, my thoughts keep returning to Alara and Baba, the children I met working on the cocoa farm.
I said I'd help them, and I must go back.
I've got your school uniform as I promised. It's your school uniform, so you can go to school. Got Alara, that's your sewing machine. One of the things that really freaked me out was the fact that they had no conception of what chocolate was. So I thought I'd bring them a bar today just to actually show them what their labour produces. You've never had chocolate either. Tell him I want to see what he thinks of the taste.
That it's sweet, but it also has a bitter taste.
It's sweet, but it also has a bitter taste, and that really sums up perfectly the issues of cocoa and chocolate here. Yay! Yay! Woo!
Ah, it's so nice.
Look, ready for school now. Ready for school. Ready for school.
Children like Baba shouldn't be relying on acts of charity from me or anyone else, nor should his country. Yet Ghana is typical of many African nations. My journey is nearly over, and I return to where I began, in the capital Accra. The celebrations were over and the crowds have gone. The atmosphere was electric and the people euphoric. But the reality is that Ghana is a very poor country when it should be rich. In the 21st century, foreign masters are still pulling the economic strings. But as consumers, we can make a difference. With our buying power, we can hold big corporations to account. We can demand that Europe and the United States end unfair trade practices. And we can insist that the IMF and the World Bank act in the interests of poor countries.
Ghana may have its independence politically, but its economic independence is yet to be realised. I believe there needs to be a new war of independence for Africa. And in this new war, the soldiers are the consumers like you and me. This new war isn't about a military struggle, but it has to be militant. And in this new war, there has to be a slogan that drives us all forward. And it's not one settler, one bullet, but instead, trade justice for Africa.
If you'd like to follow up the issues raised by the programme, simply go to channel4.com/belief. Coming up next on 4, an evocative Chinese love story mixed with stunning martial arts. The multi-Oscar-winning Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.